When was the last time you did something just because it brought you joy? Not because it was productive, not because it was useful, not because it served a purpose, just because it felt good. Well, this is Action Wednesday, and today we are auditing your joy. We're identifying where you've been shrinking it, apologizing for it, and feeling guilty about it. And then we're adding it back in unapologetically. Hey, my beautiful people, welcome back to Season of Self-Love Podcast. It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks, and I am so glad that you are here with me on this Action Wednesday. And y'all, I'm still riding high from last week's production, still feeling that full circle joy, still grateful for every moment, that every person, that every dream is coming true. And that's what we're talking about today. Joy, real joy, unashamed joy. So on Monday, I told you about the production week, about bringing back the original cast, about working 15-hour days, about having two dreams running at the same time, the filmmaking and the coaching, and about almost getting lost in one and being reminded of the other. And I told you, you don't have to choose. It's not either or, but it's both and. Well, today we're putting that into practice. Today we're doing a joy audit. We're identifying where you've been blocking your joy, shrinking your pleasure, or apologizing for feeling good. And then we're adding one joyful practice to your daily life, something that brings you pleasure for pleasure's sake. So grab your journal, get your pen ready, and let's do the work. So let me welcome you properly to the show. Welcome to the Season of Self-Love Podcast, the season of healing intentionally. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so glad that you are here. This season, we are slowing down to go deeper. Every Monday and Wednesday, we're creating a space of intentional healing, authentic conversations, and the kind of self-love that transforms from the inside out. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself intentionally is a foundation of true transformation. So whether you're on your own journey of rebirth, navigating life transitions, or simply choosing yourself, this is your safe space. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's heal together intentionally, because you deserve to embrace that beautiful person that you are. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, before we dive into today's Joy Audit, we're going to ground ourselves with a 60-second guided meditation. And today we're opening ourselves to receive joy, to welcome pleasure, to release guilt. So wherever you are right now, I want you to close your eyes and get comfortable, all right? All right, my beautiful souls, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I want you to just pause with me for a moment. I want you to put both feet on the floor, and I want you to place both hands on your heart. Take a deep breath in and slowly release with a smile. I want you to feel that joy in just being alive. And I want you to say quietly to yourself, and I want you to repeat after me. I am open to joy. Inhale. Exhale. Now say quietly to yourself, I release the guilt. I release the apology. I release the need to earn my pleasure. I receive joy. I receive pleasure. I receive the fullness of my life. Now one more breath in. Release. Now say, I deserve joy for joy's sake. I am unashamed. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and grab your journal. And let's begin. All right, my beautiful people. Again, if you are new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something we do every episode just to ground ourselves before we get into the topic at hand. All right, so let me quickly recap Monday's episode. So on Monday, I shared with you the story of our production week. You know, there was a full circle moments of just bringing back the original Chicago cast. It's over 10, 15 years later, and the joy of just working, 15-hour days on something that I love. You know, the reality of having two dreams running simultaneously, filmmaking and coaching. You know, I told you about almost getting lost in a Hollywood set mindset and how, Dr. Will text on Saturday reminded me of my other calling. I almost thought that I had to choose between dreams. And I told you the truth that you don't have to choose, that it's not either or, but it's both and. Your joy doesn't need justification. You don't have to apologize for feeling good. And you don't have to shrink your pleasure to make other people comfortable. You get to have all your dreams. You get to pursue your callings, and you get to live in the fullness of your life unapologetically. So today we're doing the practical work. We're auditing your joy. We're finding where it's blocked. We're releasing the guilt, and we're adding it back in. So you ready to do the work? Well, let's do the work. All right, so exercise 1 is called the Joy Audit, where we are blocking where are you blocking your joy? All right, so this is where we identify where you're blocking your joy, where you're shrinking your pleasure, or you're apologizing for feeling good. So right now I want you to grab your journals if you can, and I'm going to ask you questions, and I want you to write your honest answers. Not what you think you should say, but what's actually true. So question 1, what brings you joy that you've been apologizing for or minimizing? And I want you to think about it. I want you to think about what lights you up that you've been making you smaller. What lights you up that you've been making smaller? And what brings you pleasure that you've been justifying? So maybe it's a hobby that seems frivolous, or maybe it's the rest that seems lazy, or maybe it's pursuing a dream that seems impractical, or maybe it's spending money on something beautiful, or maybe it's just taking time for yourself. But what brings you joy that you've been apologizing for? I want you to write it down and be specific about it. All right, now question 2. Where are you feeling guilty about feeling good? Where? Where in your life are you happy, thriving, or enjoying yourself, but feeling guilty about it? Maybe you're happy in your relationship while your friend is going through a breakup. Or maybe you are thriving in your career while others are struggling. Or maybe you are enjoying your life while there's pain in the world. But what are your guilts? Where are you feeling guilty for feeling good? Write it down. All right, question 3. What dreams or callings have you been told you need to choose between? This is that either or trap where you've been told or told yourself that you can't have both. Maybe it's your career versus your family. Maybe it's creative work versus stable income. Maybe it's multiple passions versus staying in your lane, or maybe it's personal joy or just being a good person. Where are you operating from, either or instead of both and? Write it down. All right, in question 4, what joyful practices have you cut out of your life because they seem unproductive? What joyful practices have you cut out of your life because they seem unproductive? I want you to think about what you used to do that brought you joy. What did you stop doing because it didn't serve a practical purpose? Maybe you used to dance. Maybe you used to paint, or you used to take long walks, or maybe you used to just read for pleasure. Maybe you used to cook elaborate meals. Maybe you used to sing. What joyful practice did you abandon because they wasn't productive enough? I want you to write it down. And question 5, who are you worried will judge you for pursuing your joy? Who are you worried will judge you for pursuing your joy? And I want you to be honest. Whose opinion are you shrinking for? Whose comfort are you prioritizing over your own joy? Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's your partner, your husband, your wife. Maybe it's society. Maybe it's an imaginary audience in your head. Who are you worried will judge you? Write it down. Now I want you to look at that list. I want you to look at your list, and I want you to really look at it. This is your joy audit. This is where your joy is being blocked. This is where the guilt, this is where the shame, this is where the fear is stealing your joy. And now we're going to address it all. All right, so here's exercise 2. Now we're going to take each item from your joy audit and we're going to reframe it. We're going to release the guilt and we're going to reclaim the joy. This is what we're going to do again. We're going to reframe it. We're going to release the guilt and we're going to reclaim the joy. I'm going to give you a formula for each thing you wrote down. And I want you to complete this sentence. I release the guilt about the thing, whatever it is. And the truth is, whatever you reframe it as. So let me give you an example. Guilt. I feel guilty about being happy in my relationship with when my friend is going through a breakup. All right, that's my guilt. Now, I release the guilt about being happy in my relationship. The truth is, my happiness doesn't diminish her pain. I can hold space for her struggle and honor my joy. Both can exist. Does that make sense? So here's another guilt. I feel guilty about pursuing my creative dream because it seems impractical. This is my next example. I feel guilty. I feel guilty about pursuing my creative dream because it seems impractical. But now I'm going to release it. Here's my release. I release the guilt about pursuing my creative dream. Because the truth is, joy doesn't have to be practical to be valid. My dream matters simply because it's mine. Here's another example. The guilt. I feel guilty about taking time to rest because there's so much work to do. How many of you have felt that? I'm going to speak my guilt again. I feel guilty about taking time to rest because there's so much work to do. Now we're going to release it. And this is the example. I release the guilt about resting. The truth is, rest is not laziness. Rest is necessary. I cannot pour from an empty cup. That is my truth. Here's another example. I feel guilty about having multiple passions instead of staying in one lane. And my release is, I release the guilt about having multiple passions. Because the truth is, I don't have to choose. It's both and. And I'm allowed to be multifaceted. Now it's your turn. I want you to go through your list for each item and write, I release the guilt about whatever your guilt is. And then I want you to say, the truth is, and reframe it. I'm going to give you a moment. Now I want you to read them out loud. Seriously, I want you to say them out loud. And I want you to hear yourself releasing the guilt. I want you to hear yourself reclaiming the truth. This is the work. This is how you shift from guilt to freedom. This is how you shift from guilt to freedom. All right, let's go to the next exercise. All right, exercise 3. You ready? All right, the both and list. What can you have? What can you have? You ready? We're going to start practicing this both and thinking, all right? This is where we stop choosing between dreams and start claiming all of them. I want you to write down, I can have both. I can have both. And then list the 2 things that you've been told that you have to choose between. Let me give you some examples. I can have both a successful career and a fulfilling personal life. I can have both creative fulfillment and financial stability. I can have both rest and productivity. I can have both my Hollywood dream and my coach calling. I can have both time for myself and time for my loved ones. I can have both joy in my relationship and empathy for my friend's pain. I can have both spiritual growth and material success. I can have both multiple passions and deep expertise. Now it's your turn. I want you to look at your Joy Audit. I want you to look at where you have been operating from either or. And I want you to rewrite it as both and. And say, I can have both. And write the thing and write the other thing. And write at least 5. And if you have more and you need to, do so. And when you do that, when you finish, I want you to read it out loud. Let your brain hear the possibilities. Let your brain hear the possibilities. Let your heart believe that it's true. Because it is. That you can have both. That you don't have to choose. Exercise 4. Choosing your joyful practice. This comes the most important part. And that's about adding one joyful practice to your daily life. Not something productive, not something that serves a purpose, just something that brings you joy for joy's sake. So here's the rules. Rule number 1, it has to be purely for pleasure. No justification, no productivity, no usefulness, just joy. Just joy. Rule 2, it has to be daily, even if it's just for 5 minutes every single day. Rule 3, it has to be specific, not I'll rest more, but I'll take a 10-minute bath with lavender every evening at 8 p.m. That's specific. You're choosing on what to do, how many minutes, and specifically what it is that I'm doing with it. And rule number 4, it has to light you up. So when you think about doing this thing, do you feel a spark? Do you feel a smile? Do you feel a sense of a yes? That's how you know that it's the right thing. Now, let me give you some examples to get your mind going. All right? Dance. Dance to one song every morning before work. Dance to one song every morning before you work. Or light a candle and journal for 10 minutes before bed. You could take a walk outside with no destination, just to move. Or cook one beautiful meal per week slowly with music. These are just examples. These are just examples that you can do just to be joyful, just joyous to you. Or read a fiction for 20 minutes every evening. Paint or draw, create something with your hands. Just sing in the shower or in your car, wherever you feel like it. Wear something that makes you beautiful just because. Or call a friend and just laugh. Or if you just want to sit in silence with your coffee and no phone, do that. Write poetry, garden, watch the sunset, listen to music that moves you. These are just ideas. These are just ideas. Your joyful practice is whatever brings you joy. Now, what I want you to do right now, I want you to write it down. What is your one joyful practice for this week? And then I want you to write this down. Every day this week, I will. Your Pacific joyful practice at what Pacific time? I know y'all saying, dang, Nyomi, you giving us, yes, I told you this month is all about we doing the work. For the past few months, we've been talking and talking, listening to amazing guests on Wednesday and talking and talking. Now let's do the work. Let's do the work. Let's put some action to it. And I want you to let's make it Pacific. Let's make it time. Let's make it committed. So here's an example. Every day this week, I would dance to one song at 7 a.m. before I start work. Every day this week, I will take a 10-minute bath with lavender at 8 p.m. before bed. Every day this week, I will read a fiction book for 15 minutes at 9 p.m. Write it. Commit to it. Let me share, some of my joyful practices with you, the things that I do just because they bring me joy. My morning altar time. Every morning I spend time at my altar. Not for productivity, not for answers, just to connect, just to ground, just to honor the sacred. That's joy for me. Music, dancing. I have that moment to where I have my music. It's one particular song that I play, and it shifts my energy all the time. is bring lightness to me. Remember my green bathroom project? Yes, this again, because redesigning that space, choosing the green paint, making it sanctuary, that's purely for my pleasure. And I'm unashamed about it. I talked about just creating different spaces in my home. Laughing with my husband, we laugh a lot about nothing, about everything. That's joy, that's pleasure, that's life. This podcast, honestly, this talking to you, sharing my stories, being vulnerable, this brings me joy. It works, yes, but it's also pure pleasure. I shared with you months ago when I wasn't on here, when I wasn't able to sit because I wasn't feeling well, that I was sick, that I was healing. And it was something that I missed. But as soon as I came back, I felt so good, so good. These are just some of my joyful practice. So what are yours? What are yours? Now, I know some of you are thinking, Nyomi, I don't have time for all this joyful practice. I'm too busy. I have too much to do. And I hear you. I hear you. Because I worked, long hours all the time, especially last week. I know what busy feels like. But the truth is that you don't have time not to have joy. You don't. Because when you're operating from depletion, when you're running on empty, when you're all work and no joy, you burn out. You get bitter. You lose yourself. But when you start to add joy to your daily life, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, everything shifts. You have more energy. You're more creative. You have more capacity. You have more love to give. Joy is not frivolous. Joy is fuel. So you don't have to find an hour. You don't have to find, to overhaul your whole life. You just have to find 5 or 10 minutes every day to do something that lights you up. You have to find time for that. You have to find time for that. And the big question, what if people judge me? I know some of you are worried about that, what people think. What if people judge me? What if they judge you for taking time for yourself? What if they think that you're selfish? What if they don't understand? And here's what I say, let them. Let them think that you're selfish for taking a bath every night. Let them think that you're frivolous for dancing in the morning. Let them think that you're impractical for pursuing your creative joy. Let them. Their opinion does not change your right to joy. Their judgment doesn't diminish your pleasure. Their discomfort doesn't mean that you have to shrink. You get to have joy. You get to pursue pleasure. You get to live in the fullness of your life. And if someone judges you for that, that says more about them than it does about you. I'm going to tell you, I get judged every day for choosing to do what I want to do, what lights me up. People tell me every day, why are you doing the season of self-love? Why are you talking about self-love? Why are you talking about this? Why you're not interviewing porn stars or old porn stars? Why are you not talking about just sex? Why you're not doing this? Why you're not doing that? Because I choose to do what I want to do. I choose what makes me happy. And that's what you have to do. Start doing. Choose what makes you happy. I'm not hurting anyone by bringing joy to my life. The more joy that I bring to my life, the more joy that I can bring to others. The more that I'm able to love myself, the more that I'm able to love others. All right, so here's your challenge for this week. For the next 7 days, I would love for you to do your joyful practice. Every single day, no excuses, no skipping, no I'll do it tomorrow. Every day for 7 days. I want you to notice what happens. I want to notice how you feel. I want to notice how your energy shifts. I want to notice how your mood changes. Notice how your joy starts to ripple out into other areas of your life. And at the end of the week, I want you to ask yourself, what would my life look like if I kept this practice up? What would shift if joy was a part of my daily routine? That's the work. That's how you build an unashamed life. That's how you build it. Now, just like every week, we need accountability. So I want you to share your joyful practice. Make it public. Make it real. Option 1, you could DM me or tag me on Instagram at the Season of Self-Love podcast and tell me this week my joyful practice is, give the Pacific practice every day at the Pacific time. Or option 2, tell your accountability partner. Text them right now. This week, I'm adding joy to my daily life, and here's what I'm doing. And let them know exactly what you're doing. And do it now. Make it real. Do it now and make it real. All right, so before we close out, I want to leave you with this affirmation for this week, all right? So if you're ready, please repeat after me out loud if you can. I deserve joy for joy's sake. I do not need to justify my pleasure. I do not need to apologize for feeling good. I can have all my dreams. I can pursue all my callings. I am unashamed of my joy. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, to my beautiful people, this is the work. This is how you reclaim joy. Your audit is where it's blocked. You release the guilt. You practice both and thinking. You add one joyful practice to your daily life, and you do it for 7 days. And you will notice what that shift is. And slowly you build a life that's not just productive and not just responsible and not just useful, but joyful, pleasurable, and full. So this week, do your joyful practice every day, no matter what, even if it's just 5 minutes, especially if it's just 5 minutes. Add joy to your life unapologetically and watch what happens. And then come back next Monday because we're moving to week 4 on unashamed expansion. We're talking about being too much boldly, about taking up all the space you need, about blooming fully without shrinking. If this episode has helped you, I wanted to share it with someone who needs permission to add joy to their life. Leave a review. And please DM me on Instagram and tell me what your joyful practice is. I want to celebrate with you. So until next Mindset Monday, this is your girl, the Goddess NmW&x, reminding you to be good to one another in yourselves. And always keep it sexy. Love yourself first so you can love others well. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me today on this journey of intentional healing. I hope that this conversation has filled your cup and reminded you of the beautiful and worthy person that you are. I want you to remember, healing isn't about rushing. It's about showing up for yourself with love and intention, one day at a time. So I'll see you back here Monday and Wednesday for another episode of the Season of Healing Intentionally, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. So until then, keep choosing you. And visit us at the seasonofselflovepodcast.com for show notes and resources. And remember to connect with me on Instagram at The Real Nyomi Banks. This has been brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, because your healing matters. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are exactly where you need to be. Take care.